Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CACHET Virtual College Fair. We've got an exciting session today. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping items. Note that our presenters are available for questions. So if you have some, feel free to use the Q&A button to type your question at any time. Also note that your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists can't see or hear you. Finally, note that we've got some additional sessions available if you're interested in other institutions. So have a look at the StriveScan website for that information. Also note that the recording of this session will be available and posted to the StriveScan website at strivescan.com/cache. With that, we'll turn it over to our presenters from MIT.
Hello, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well on this lovely Tuesday. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed their Monday. My name is Danielle Tate, and I'm going to be presenting on behalf of MIT. As Dave mentioned, you can feel free to ask us questions in the Q&A section. One of my colleagues, E, is here and will be answering questions as I'm going through the information session. But so excited to know that you all are here, even though we can't see each other, and excited that you're interested in hearing more about MIT. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So most of you already know this, but MIT is located in the Cambridge area of Massachusetts. So for those of you who are joining maybe from a warmer climate, snow is very real here. And one of the things that I always hear from students is how they had to adjust to snow if they're not used to being in a colder environment. But nonetheless, loving the Boston area and loving the Cambridge area, there's just so much to do. And we're surrounded by so many other educational institutions, which makes MIT a very special place to be because you're around so many other leaders, thinkers in the area, and it's just a great place where you're able to innovate. In terms of what's been happening for this year, I know there are a lot of questions about COVID and how that's impacted campus and things of that nature. I can't speak to everything that has happened on campus this year, but I can say that right now we do have undergraduates on campus studying for their courses. And we did have seniors who were on campus as well in the fall semester to finish out some of their coursework. If they had any lab work to do as well, they were on campus finishing that up. So that brings me to the MIT mission. Our mission is really to advance knowledge and educate students in science, technology, and other areas of scholarship that will best serve the nation and the world in the 21st century. And the reason why we always put this slide in any information session that we do is because it's really important to understand the history behind MIT and where we are currently. MIT was founded 2 days before the Civil War, so there was so much going on in the world, in the nation at that time, and so much going on in terms of innovation and industrialization as well. And prior to, establishments like MIT and other institutions, technical institutions that were founded, there were a lot of different ways that you can kind of well, there were two really mainly only ways that you can get an education and get a job after you're finished with schooling. The first way really was if you're interested in the liberal arts, study under someone else who is interested in the liberal arts and write down your commentary and hope that someone in the future picks up your commentary and also shares their philosophy on what you had to say. And the other school of thought really was to be an apprentice. If you wanted to be a blacksmith, if you wanted to create and get your hands dirty, actually be an apprentice and learn from studying under someone and having that hands-on practice. So when MIT was created, it really was to mesh together, thinking and studying for the sake of studying, and also getting your hands dirty and creating while you're also in the classroom space as well. And MIT is really dedicated to making sure that students have that hands-on practical knowledge that are doing, new and innovative different technologies and things of that nature, so that we can face some of the issues that are great in this world. So things like cancer, different renewable forms of energy, and many other problems that we're facing in this world are really tackled in MIT's labs while students are on campus. So whether you're practicing in the D Lab or you have a Europe someplace else at the PKG Center, or you're interested in entrepreneurship, all of these different schools of thought and fields really come together when you're at a place like MIT. This brings me to our logo, which is men's at Monis. And really this means mind and hand, which is kind of what I mentioned before, learning not just for the sake of learning, but also putting that learning outside of the classroom and also inside of the classroom too. So this picture you see here is literally a roller coaster that our students from East Campus, which is one of our residence halls, made while they were on campus. And so the story goes, every year East Campus would create like a somewhat amusement park ride. And really this is students just doing this on their own. This is not led by a professor. A professor didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm gonna go to East Campus and you're all going to create a roller coaster for credit or something like that. All of these students just like to gather together and they like to innovate and find different solutions to different problems while they're on campus. So if you're looking at something as simple, I don't know if you would consider a roller coaster simple, but if you're looking at something like this, you might just see this and think, oh, hey, Disney World, they're just having tons of fun. But the creation behind this really takes so many different disciplines. It takes physics, it takes calculus, it takes urban planning even, because once this is created, the city of Cambridge has to make sure that this roller coaster is built up to code so that people can actually ride on it safely. So many different disciplines really do come into play when you're looking at something as maybe simple as a roller coaster. And the same thing goes when you're on campus and doing projects and doing research for credit or for pay at MIT. So many different schools of thoughts are coming together, which is why I like to point out a lot of people see MIT as a premier engineering school, and that is true. And we are great at producing amazing engineers, but we're also great at producing amazing entrepreneurs, people who really know how to solve issues in today's world. So some of our students, do have minors in different fields, like say French, for example, or Africana studies, and they are double majoring, some of them. Students are, majoring in urban planning and some of these other fields that may not be as highlighted whenever you think about MIT or whenever people speak about MIT. And I think that that's something that really creates amazing alumni. In terms of, getting together and actually doing research, one of the main questions that I get from students is, Danielle, I'm going to be a first-year student. I'm coming out of high school. Will I actually be able to do research with professors? And to be honest with you, yes, you can. I actually had a student, her name was Asia, and she actually was interested in chemical engineering, and that was her course. And she actually was able to get her UROP by simply going online to our UROP website, looking at her professor and seeing her professor's research interests and just emailing her professor and saying, hey, I'd love to do research with you. Are you working on any projects? Do you need any help with any projects that you're doing right now? So it is as simple as that. Or you can also go to our UROP website and see, what professors have offered, for students to get involved in research opportunities that are already happening. So a lot of our students do graduate with some wet lab experience, if that's something that they're interested in, mechanical engineering experience. And research is not only highlighted in the sciences. If you also have an interest in the social sciences at MIT, there are plenty of other research opportunities available there as well. And this is one of my favorite slides. If the chat were open, one of the main things that I would ask is, what everybody thinks this is a picture of. Just take a moment and really look at this and see, what do you think this is a photograph of? The main things that come to my sight are the confetti, there's a stage, there's lights. If you notice, there's a little band on the left-hand side, and just a ton of people taking pictures and are excited. And whenever I ask this question to people, someone said just finished finals. Yes, that could be it too. I know that you all are going to feel that way when you end up graduating or when you finish this year. Yes, it could be people just finishing finals. But this picture is actually a picture from one of our classes. This is a capstone course called 2009. And it's basically for mechanical engineers. They can take this course and they are assigned with designing a device, bringing it up to marketing standards, and really just showing off this device in action on stage in front of peers, faculty, staff, admissions, we as an office do attend as well to show support to some of the students that we know who have taken the course as well. So we all, celebrate these students as they're showcasing their device. So they're split up into different teams. There's a red team, there's an orange team, and they're able to just go ahead and showcase their device and show us how it works. Now, some of these devices have been, things that make things better for society. So if you go online, you'll be able to see that there is one device that a group made one time that helps Parkinson's patients with some of their tremors. And so there's actual demonstration of the person wearing the device and not wearing the device, and the visible difference of them kind of drawing within a spiral and seeing how they're able to stay within the lines. And then there are also, many other opportunities where students have, also designed a custom lipstick maker as well. And this is probably one of my favorite classes, and I bring this up because this is really a class that really shows our students how to collaborate with one another, and also how to practice public speaking as well. And so these students really become celebrated. So if you have students, or if you are a student who is not as celebrated in STEM just yet, you will be more than happy to be on this campus, or support a student who's on this campus who is celebrated for their achievements in STEM. In terms of the community at MIT, one of the very first things that I noticed on campus was just how diverse the campus was. Here I am coming from a semi-liberal arts background, and coming to MIT, I thought was going to be this big, scary place where everyone was going to be almost robotic, right? That's kind of the perception that's out there about MIT and its students. And after I started working here, I was like, oh my gosh, like people are very diverse. People have a wide range of interests. And again, these interests go far beyond STEM as well. And so it's always interesting when our students can strike up a conversation with other students that are like them or that are not like them at all, and really collaborate and become involved in different clubs and organizations. So there are a lot of different clubs and organizations on campus where students can, practice, social impact if they want. If they're interested in entrepreneurship, they can also join groups there. We also have cultural organizations such as our BSU is very active. Our Latino Cultural Center is also very active on campus. Our Muslim Students Association. Those are just some that come to mind, but there are so many others. And another thing that people don't know a lot about MIT is we have the largest Division III program as well. And so many of our students do play sports. It might be a little bit different from some other institutions that might be D1, because we want to make sure that our students are, excelling in the classroom. And so there is not this major pressure for students to always have to perform on a team. If they're interested in, if they have like an exam coming up, they can communicate with their coaches to make sure that they're able to go and practice or do a piece set with some others. And that's another thing that I wanted to mention too, is that when it comes to our students and doing piece sets with one another, which are problem sets, students have told me that it is the kind of place where if you need help with your physics problem set, if you need help with your physics homework, anybody in your hallway will be willing to help you out because they've been there, they've been through that class, and they understand what it's like. There's no shock that MIT is, a change in rigor for most of the high school students that do come to campus. However, we do have such a supportive environment, both office-wide and also from the student side, that are willing to support. So in terms of different offices that support our students, we do have our Office of Minority Education, which they offer a summer bridge program called Interphase Edge, which really helps students who are interested in getting, that extra calculus class under their belt or that extra physics class under their belt before they start their first day on campus at MIT. And we do have a wide range of student support services. If students are struggling with mental health, or if they just have 3 exams this week and they don't know what to do and they might need, some flexibility from their professors, S Cubed is really our one-stop shop for all things mental health related. Even something as small as, I'm really struggling with being able to wake up in the winter, which is very real if you're not used to the winter. And even for some of us who are used to winter, not being able to wake up on time or feeling groggy and things of that nature, S Cubed is kind of the one-stop shop. And last but not least is also our Rainbow Lounge. And we have a variety of other support services for students as well. So in terms of the MIT application, I see there are some questions about applications coming up here. We have our own application. We are not available on the Common Application. So if here or you're on Common Application and you're trying to find MIT, you will not find us. We are also not on the Coalition application. You can only apply through our website. And if you just Google MIT admissions and click that top right-hand button that says apply, it will lead you through all the steps you need to apply for the first year or transfer, whichever you're looking to do. Now, in terms of our application and what we are looking for, we have a variety of different things that students can fill out. So for example, we do have short answer essay questions that students can fill out. It's a little bit different from the Common Application where, we don't just have one big personal statement that you have to fill out. It's just a range of different short answer questions that can be answered in like a paragraph or so or two. We also ask you what activities students have been involved in. So are they involved in FBLA? Are they involved in robotics? Are they involved in social justice work? Really, whatever students are involved in, that is what you should be writing on your application. We just want to see what your interests are. Maybe some students also have a hobby where they are interested in playing guitar, playing ukulele. That's also great for us to know. We'd love to learn more about you in the application process. Some students also list any awards they've received. These awards can be, top math student in my class right now, or any larger awards. Maybe you're involved in, any math competitions or things of that nature. We'd love to see that, or any art competitions. That's something else that students can list on their application. In terms of recommendation letters, we require 2 teacher recommendation letters. So one has to come from a STEM teacher. So that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, anything in that range. One recommendation letter has to come from a teacher who's taught you in one of those subjects. And then the second would be a humanities, arts, or social science teacher as well. Just for the record, economics counts as humanities, arts, and social sciences, along with any social studies, any history, English classes that you've done. Those will all count as humanities, arts, and social studies. And then students also can have their counselor, send them a letter of recommendation as well, of course, and we'll look at all of those in combination. The next thing we'll look at is your transcript, the transcript of a student, really to see what classes they've taken and how does that compare to what's offered to them in their school. So if within the school setting, there are APs offered, that's great. Some schools offer IB. We are not really looking at, one student compared to another. We just want to see how has that particular student challenged themselves in their school environment. So if APs are not offered, maybe the student is taking dual enrollment classes or college courses outside, they can also submit that information in the application too. The next thing that we would take a look at is the SAT or ACT. Now, many of you do know that we suspended our testing requirement for this past year for a class of 2025, and we have not made an announcement yet on whether or not we will be suspending the test requirement for SAT or ACT for this year. So please do stay tuned to see what the announcement would be for that. But that update should be coming probably over the summer for everyone to take a look at and to consider as they're applying to MIT. And then the last thing is an interview. So students can definitely have an interview with one of our educational counselors. These are alumni. A lot of them have been doing this for many years. So they love to interview students. They love to get to know students who are interested in MIT and who have applied to MIT. So after you submit your application, then we would contact you, or the interviewer would contact you to set up a time to chat. And it is an interview in the sense that, we're gonna hear back about the interview. However, really take this opportunity. I always tell students to get to know a little bit more about MIT. Yes, some of our alumni may have graduated a little bit longer ago, but there's still some things that you can learn about post MIT success, and even networking through, really interacting with our educational counselors. The two deadlines that we have for applying to MIT: early actions deadline is November 1, regular actions deadline is January 1, and there is absolutely no difference in your chances of acceptance between early action and regular action. And I will say that again, there's no difference. Just some students are ready to submit their stuff earlier, then they can definitely do that November 1. Other students are not, so January 1 would be ideal for regular action. And that is the conclusion of the presentation that I had for you all. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at questions and answer some of the questions here, because I know that many people have questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen. So I see I have a question about the Rainbow Lounge. So the Rainbow Lounge is really, it's in Walker Memorial, and it's really an opportunity for students who identify as LGBT+, or if they are an ally, to become educated on issues surrounding the LGBTQ community. And also if you identify with that particular, those identities, a way for you to just have space to yourself, to meet other people who identify as LGBT+ as well. And they always do something called a lavender graduation, and it's led by one of our dear colleagues, Lauren, who is really great. So it's really a place to educate people about LGBT issues. So some of the issues like training for faculty members, training for staff members, different things like that are initiatives that come from the Rainbow Lounge. What does MIT look for in a student? On the flip side, what type of student do you think would least suit our campus? That's a good question. So some of the things that we look for in students, we're looking for students who have a collaborative spirit. Students who are willing to get to know one another and really come together when it's time to do, again, like I said, a piece set, a project. A lot of the work at MIT does stem around collaboration. Even if you're thinking about doing research, a lot of research too can string from collaboration as well. This is not to say that you won't have your own time and space to yourself. You of course will, but that's one of the biggest things I think about when I think about what we're looking for in a student. I think the other thing is, hands-on creativity. Not all students are able to really display this in high school, depending on the type of high school you go to, or depending on, your family situation. But, if you have any hands-on creativity that you've been able to display in your engineering class, or maybe you do something outside of the classroom. A lot of our students are actually involved in the arts. So I've seen portfolios all the way down to nail designs, people who are creative in some way, or have a goal to really be creative in the future are really students who do well on our campus, I'd say. And students who are just curious. And this goes along with, taking risks as well. Really curious about, how to make it to the next step, really curious about different opportunities that are presented to them. So I think those are all factors in a student that we look for through the application. And the type of student I think would least suit your campus, I really don't have one specific student in the back of my mind, because many students will fit this description and just display it many different ways. But I do think, if you're the type of student who is coming to MIT, gung-ho about just, kind of rushing through MIT just to get your degree and that's it, that's out, I don't think it will be the best fit for you, because it really is, again, a collaborative, quirky environment where, at some point you have to be loose and have fun, and also be able to find a balance too. I think that's another thing that MIT students do really well in. It's a really hard place to be. And so, our students try their best to be balanced, find that balance between extracurricular activities and also getting your work done, finding that balance between, when you want to work on things on your own, aside from when you need to ask for help. So many students do again, learn those skills while they're on campus. But that's probably the answer that I would have to that question. Is it required to live on campus? It is not required to live on campus after your first year. So students are living anywhere. They're living in independent living groups. They're living off campus. I have a couple of students who live off campus now as well. One thing I would tell you about living off campus, this kind of goes hand in hand, is that we really discourage students from bringing cars to campus. Cambridge is not the kind of place where you can bring your car, park it. It's very hard to find parking in the Cambridge area. So if you don't want to get tickets, or if you don't want to pay for MIT parking, which I don't even know if it's available to students, to be honest with you, do not bring your car to campus. So that's something that you should keep in mind as well. Do you declare major or college on the application? That is an excellent question. So in terms of our application process, you will list what you're interested in studying, and that's just for us to know. Sometimes students are interested in studying something and they, change their mind. One thing that's important to note, though, is we're not admitting you necessarily into that specific department or major. And the reason we don't do that, because we know that students are going to change their minds, many of them, by the time that they get on campus and start taking some classes. So you're not necessarily locked in to a certain course or department, and you're not locked out of a course or department. But that is an excellent question, because some colleges, if you do not apply to their bioengineering program or something like that, you will not get into their bioengineering program. That's not the case at MIT. You just say what you're interested in, and we'll take that as face value. But we know many people are going to change their majors after they get on campus. How are AP exams factored into the application? That is another good question. In terms of AP examinations, we do look at that if that is self-reported already in your application. So you will have space if you wanted to self-report your AP examinations. So we'll take a look at that. But again, we have a holistic review. So we're looking at your grades, we're looking at your AP scores, we're looking at any other testing you submitted, if you submitted testing, and then we're trying to make an evaluation from there based on all of the information you provided to us. So we look at that. In terms of after you get on campus, I know some people have a lot of questions about, do AP scores really transfer over? We do have a math diagnostic for students who are interested in being placed, in a higher math. There's a math diagnostic that students take when they get on campus that will place you in the correct math that you need to be in. And then also you can communicate with the Office of the First Year and other departments to see how, if you've had any college courses, how they could potentially be used as credit for your MIT career. But I will say that the majority of the time when it comes to AP exams or college courses, we look very heavily at them in terms of trying to see if it matches our MIT curriculum as well. And then that department will make the decision on whether or not to give you credit for that. Did you want to answer any questions as well on screen? Do we have any scholarship or internship programs available for aspiring students? So in terms of scholarships, we don't have any necessarily like scholarships, because we are a need blind institution. So when I say need blind, in terms of admissions, we do not see any of your financial anything, and we do not give out merit scholarships either for any reason. We only give out need-based awards. So based off of need, based off of your income, that is how we allocate our financial aid packages. So scholarships might be a little bit different. You might have to go outside and find special scholarships. Question about SAT subject tests. We do not even look at subject tests anymore. That was one of our changes to our policies last year. We actually are not looking at subject tests, and right now I think subject tests aren't even offered anymore. So that's one thing less that we will be looking at in the future. Is there a place on the application to submit a portfolio of work in a certain subject area? Yeah, so that's a great question. We do have portfolios, and you can submit your portfolio when you're almost ready to submit your application or right after you submit your application. Please do not wait until the deadline to submit your portfolio. If you can submit it before the deadline for your application, then that would be amazing. But we do have different portfolios that students can submit. They can do a music portfolio, they can do an art portfolio, and they can do a maker portfolio. Maker portfolios are kind of this hodgepodge of different things. So, you know, some students, they might be real makers and they might want to they might be involved in creating go-karts or something like that. I've even seen, again, like I said, nail designs in the maker portfolio. So that's a bit more of a hodgepodge, but a maker portfolio is specifically, you know, if you have anything hands-on that you've done, or maybe you're on a robotics team and you want to submit that as a portion of your portfolio, you can do that as well. If you've made drones, whatever, that's like a maker portfolio. Art portfolio is if you have any paintings, any photography, if you're interested in any of those disciplines, if you're interested in any of those and you've created in that sense, you can submit that for an art portfolio. And then also music portfolio, performance, composition, those would go in the music portfolio. So we don't necessarily have a creative writing portfolio. If you wanted to share something very small, you can definitely add that into your application within the application. But please do not send us 10 pages of anything like that. And then the last portfolio I almost forgot is a research portfolio. So if you have done research, you can definitely submit your research paper, your poster that you've used to submit for any conference or anything like that. You can definitely do that. What high school courses should math and science students take to be competitive? On our website, what we list is we have a website for what students should do in high school, and I'm going to add this into the chat. And on this website, we'll be able to show you what are some of the things that we recommend. So 1 year of high school physics, 1 year of chemistry, 1 year of high school biology, math through calculus. Calculus is recommended. 2 years of foreign language. This might differ depending on where you're located. Every state has different, foreign language requirements for their students. English, and then 2 years of history and/or social sciences. So those are the recommended courses that we list on our website. I will say again, we're evaluating that based off of how we've noticed students succeed when they get on campus, and students really do succeed when they've had exposure to calculus and physics on campus, because those are some of the primary classes that you're going to take no matter what your major is. Even if you are a humanities, arts, and social science major at MIT, you will have to take calculus and physics and biology and chemistry. So those are some of the things that we recommend. What would digital art or models be considered as? I think I would consider that, depending on how you create it and how visually it looks, you can probably either submit it through an art portfolio or submit it through a maker portfolio. And there are guidances on our websites about how to, what should be submitted in each portfolio. And let me see if I can pull up the portfolio guidelines. And I just sent that in the chat about portfolios. So if you want to read more about what would a research portfolio be, I don't know if I've really done research, what does this look like, you'll be able to see there. A question about math, SL analysis and applications. Would that be considered equal to AP Calc? Um, I believe SL, correct me if I'm wrong, E covers a little bit of calculus. I would say if you have the ability to take um, higher level, I think, has more exposure to calculus if it's available to you at your school. If it's not available, then that's, another conversation. Maybe if you want more exposure to calculus, you can definitely see if you have the opportunity to take it at online or a college course or something like that. But I would say if you have the opportunity to take HL, then definitely use that opportunity. More questions about calc. The more exposure you have to calculus, it's not about necessarily what enhances your chances of getting into MIT, because plenty of students have taken multivariable calculus. We're not going to admit someone because they've taken multivariable calculus, but it's more about your preparation to transfer into the academics here at MIT. So think of it that way. So if you have the chance to take multivariable and you want to take multivariable, go ahead. If you're like, whoa, I don't know about multivariable, I'm gonna stick with BC for now, then go ahead, do whatever is within your wheelhouse, your bandwidth to do. Because the one thing you don't want to do is, try to shoot too far, and you're taking a whole bunch of other APs, and senior year is really real, where students are trying to balance different things and also apply to college and things of that nature. So just keep in mind what's in your wheelhouse. If you have the capacity to get involved with deeper maths and that's something you're interested in, go ahead, go for it. I wouldn't fight it. Let's see. E, do you want to answer a question?
I can try. I'm just trying to type as fast as I can. You guys have any good questions?
You guys have E working hard.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure you hear from someone else, from one of my colleagues as well.
I think some of the earlier ones that I'm skipping because they may have been covered already, so we're not covering those again. I'm going to go back up some of the earlier ones. Alumni involvement. There are many alumni volunteer for events. They mentor. They also offer jobs. So there are many. And I think what's typical with MIT is there are many opportunities. You take the initiative and you try to seek them out, and and then people will try to help you. That's kind of like a typical model of how things work at MIT. Transfer credits, again, for IB or AP, it really depends on the particular course you're taking. For many of the general institute requirements, you're probably not going to get transfer credit for taking AP or IB, but we offer these things called advanced standing examinations, which you could take if you choose to. They're optional. And if you pass those, then again, if you choose to, you could waive out of some of those classes. So in theory, it is possible to graduate shorter than 4 years. And it depends on, whether you get credit up front or you take more classes per semester. But just letting you know, classes are challenging at MIT. So, that shouldn't necessarily be a goal to try to graduate in 3 years. Is it difficult to get accepted in MIT? Statistically, it's difficult. This year, I don't know if you saw the blog, the admit rate was 4%. Which is our lowest record. What if your recommender isn't fluent in English? We do require, I guess, evaluation letters in English. So you will need to either have that person submit it in English or try to find another possible recommender who can do so in English. I think Daniel talked about the submitting portfolios. Portfolio, like Russian language, I'm not sure what you mean there. If you're talking about like a research paper in Russian or something, I guess that slide room portfolio method will probably let you submit anything like a PDF or something. So we could, if you wanted to submit it, you probably can. What is the faculty like? It's a wide range. You know, you have Nobel Prize laureates, you know, award winners, as well as new faculty as well. In terms of their accessibility, many of them are busy because they're running big labs. But you know, you do say again, take the initiative, try to reach them. If the first email doesn't get them, you know, try again, and you may be able to get them, and then they may put you in touch with other postdocs or PhD students, and you know, in some cases, they may work with you directly as well.
I see an awesome question. How can I challenge myself if my high school doesn't offer AP courses? That's a great question. Again, we'll look at everything that is offered at your school. So we'll know if your school does not offer APs, and you can, and again, if you think that there's any lapse in what we know about your school, you can always add information in the application about, hey, this wasn't offered at my school this year. This is the reason why it's not on my transcript and I wanted to take it. If your high school does not offer AP courses or IB, or, you know, if there are honors courses offered, I'd say definitely take those honors courses. If you want to extend yourself, you know, and challenge yourself even more, you know, definitely see if there's any programs near you where you're able to take a college course, or speak to your guidance counselor or college counselor to see if there's any way that you can take more courses within your school schedule, but they'll be college courses. And again, this really depends on how close you are to the college, you know, things of that nature. Would you have to travel there? Would it be virtual? Things of that nature. But see if there is a college course, and see, even more importantly, see if it's funded, see if there are any programs that fund college courses for you to take. There's a really great program that is sadly, I think, only available in certain cities called College Now. And that program will help high school students take some college courses at some of the city or state universities in their area, but that is not a program that's everywhere. So if you can't, if there's no way for you to take a college course or anything like that, you can also self-study if you wanted. If you're really passionate about, you know, science, or if you're really passionate about math and that's what you're interested in, you can also self-study if you wanted on certain topics. You know, sometimes some students will self-study for an AP exam in order to kind of get that AP exam under their belt and to learn a little bit more about the subject. But again, this is within your wheelhouse. Regardless of how you're taking what you're taking, we're going to be looking to see what's available to you and what you've taken. We're not penalizing students for, you know, not having access to higher level courses because that's not what's available at their school. We understand that not all schools are created equal. Yeah, great question about student mental health, given the high academic pressure. One of the things I mentioned earlier in the presentation is student support services, which is S cubed. The amount of times that, you know, we have student workers in our office who, you know, if they just sometimes get hosed. That's what we call it, hosed, when they're at MIT, which is just really, you know, stressed out from academic stuff. You know, one of the things that they will say is that they are going to S cubed. And I actually have pulled up some stats from S cubed, where the majority of the students who are going to S cubed, maybe they're stressed out because they have 3 exams that week and they need, you know, 1 exam date changed. S cubed really does work with, you know, faculty members, with deans, different people, to make sure that the student is able to graduate, to progress within their academics, and so on and so forth. So S cubed is our one-stop shop. You know, that's the first place that students go. We also do have call lines if you're worried about a student's well-being on campus as well. 24 hours. We do have someone that answers that call, usually a counselor or someone who works within our residence hall department. who answers that call and can get the student, check on the student and get the student connected to a counselor ASAP. So those are some of the things that happen on campus, and that's something that we take very seriously as well.
All right, we're about at time here. I want to thank the MIT panel here for all the great information. Couple final thoughts before we conclude today.
Did you want to? Okay.
I was just going to mention we have a quick survey for this session. So if there's any information that you want to share, you can do that through the Q&A. Also note, we have additional sessions available on the StriveScan website for those of you who have interest in other institutions. Lastly, there was a question about this, but I'll mention it again. The recording of this presentation will be available on the StriveScan website. You can see it at strivescan.com/cache. So again, thanks to our MIT presenters, and hope everybody has a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Take care.
Night.